So I think there's probably a couple different layers of cultural differences, but one of the ones that I was most prevalent to me when I first moved over there was the work culture. And it was really about kind of coming from a place where we over-rely on email. And I think we do that because we want to make sure that our expectations are clear, because we want to communicate to a large group of people at once, because in some ways we want to make sure that the transfer of accountability has been very clearly stated. And so I went over to China thinking, well, as I'm starting to get to know these people and knowing that English is a second language, I should continue to use email as a way to communicate with them. And what I found was within probably the first maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I had this great, very dear friend and colleague who came to me and said, this email thing isn't working. Everybody here thinks it's so weird that you email instead of just get up and walk over to their desk and talk to them. And that was such a major adjustment for me because I had just come from a place where I felt like that was how you establish clarity, and culturally for them, clarity came from face-to-face communication. So that was a major adjustment for me from a cultural standpoint. It's funny enough, when I came back here and was working with my team, I did a lot of stop-bys, sort of, hey, just wanted to stop by and talk to you about this project, and had people saying to me, it's actually a whole lot easier if you just email me on that, because it's somewhat disruptive to have you just show up. But so kind of like going back and forth between those two was something that it was a good lesson. It was very humbling for me, actually, because I, of course, thought that I knew exactly what I was doing going over and working at China, and I was totally wrong.
Very different cultures. I think, firstly, the basic, the work culture is very similar. It's much less about politics. It's about getting the work done as far as the organization is concerned. But as far as the cultures, our broader cultures are concerned, very different. For instance, in China and India, there is much left unsaid as compared to the American culture. So you've got to figure out what the signals are, in much of Asia. And then the nature of diversity is also very different. For instance, if you were to look at India, people are very diverse in terms of different languages and the makeup of the culture. They come from very different regions, whereas in the US, people come with very different experiences. They might look homogeneous, but they're very different in terms of the experiences. So very different in each country.